Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. On this show, we like to go into topics more deeply. And today's show is going to be a follow-up for yesterday's show. I mean, it was yesterday for you, but for me, it's the same day. It's just Joe Friendly came in and gave me some stuff. I'm going to help him edit his moving show. It's when he was moving furniture. And a lot of people didn't understand that the purpose of that show was to give an idea of how we public access producers are able to give this kind of programming to you, whether you like it or not. No, actually, we're thinking that you do like it. And it's kind of a vacuum for me with one.N because I don't have access to any kind of ratings. I don't know how many people are watching. On YouTube, I do. On YouTube, people can leave comments. I can see how many people have viewed. I can see what kind of ratings they give. And it's interesting because on YouTube and the whole idea of the internet, it's valued according to traffic. So when you have controversial topics and you get a lot of traffic coming to it and opinions that people have, on different sides of, that's considered to be a good thing. But in truth, it's a rather painful process because human nature is such that we tend to champion our causes and we tend to gravitate towards those people who like the things that we like and don't like the things that we don't like. But actually, that doesn't make good viewership. And I think a lot of the corporate media understands this because I think like with Hannity and Combs, they take different positions. You know, you've got the liberal guy and the conservative guy. But here on public access, it's really true. We really personally go through the process. So Joe Friendly and I have different positions about global warming, and I guess we both mourn for each other. But the result is that we're getting a lot of traffic to what we're posting on the internet, and I must say, on my comments, it's taking me a couple hours a day to keep up with them. And I'm hoping that I can get the streaming really happening. We've had a lot of technical setbacks. But I know we're going to overcome these. And the purpose of my going live every day at 12 noon is so I can be available for people who I can tell may not have the same viewpoints that I do, but they're really concerned and they really want to know. And having been in that position of really wanting to know, I always want to be available to anybody if there's something that I know that they might not know and could help their life in some way as a result of knowing it. Now, another wonderful thing about Joe showing up and helping me with the show that you saw yesterday, but for actually it was the same day for me, and I put the date down here, 7/10/07. What I really want to get onto, and I really want to roll up my sleeves and address, is antisemitism. It's something that's been gnawing at me for all of my life. Some of you know my whole story. I'm part German, and I carry with me a lot of that guilt and shame about the Holocaust. But I am definitely seeing it absolutely in black and white, or however it comes across on the computer monitor. There are comments coming from all over the world for what I'm posting, and it really, really concerns me. And I ask all Jewish people and non-Jewish people of goodwill to step forward and help on this, because anti-Semitism hurts everyone. And I came across a very savvy lawyer in D.C. named John Katz. And the reason I came across it was I was looking on Google to find out why I was so high in the search engines, because all of a sudden I started getting a lot more hits. It started going from a couple hundred a day to a couple thousand. And I found that the search engines must weigh and value things according to who else is coming to you. And so some of my shows would be picked up and put onto other websites. Now, one very interesting one was my ex-CIA agent Steele, when I was sort of exposing a supposed ex-CIA agent at a hackers conference. I kind of got guilty after that show because it was not an example of nonviolent communication. It was nonviolent communication. And I did damage control with nonviolent communication in 3 parts. So one of those shows, I think it was my ex-CIA agent Steele and damage control with nonviolent communication part 3. Guess where that is? That's at AOL Video. I was astonished. And it looked really nice. I thought maybe they cleaned up the sound. Some of my audio is not so good. Some shows are better than others. And this was a particularly good one. But in any case, John Katz had picked up one of the Bhagavan Das shows. And I was kind of impressed that a lawyer would have this on his website. So I went into the website, and it was very deep, and it was mostly, by deep I mean it went on, and it was kind of lists of all of the things that he liked, and it was interesting, the stuff he liked. So I emailed him and said I couldn't find the Bhagavan Das, and then he found it for me and said, I don't know anything more than this if you don't find it. It had something that Alan Steinfeld had done before I even met Alan over 10 years ago, with him and his wife at the time, Uma, that were dancing, and he was singing to the divine aspect of the Divine Mother, Kali. And then John Katz, I emailed him back and I said, would you like to be on my show? Because I noticed he seems to be active in certain Jewish groups. And I said, I'm very concerned with anti-Semitism. And he said he'd be happy to be on my show about topics of mutual interest, but as far as anti-Semitism, he's just against anti-Jewish things, but he recognizes that it's allowed with the First Amendment. And so I thought about that, answered him back and said, fine, thank you. But then I thought about it more deeply. And I thought, is the First Amendment wrong, or are people expressing things that they don't understand because of ignorance? And it seemed, from my memory, all of the sincere work to reduce anti-Semitism had to do with alleviating ignorance. That, in other words, if people understood more about the Jewish tradition, they would not be anti-Semitic. They wouldn't be having these feelings that then would give to nasty comments. Some of my viewers would say, oh, Paula, don't be duped. And then, I would show them, well, I'm not that much of a dupe. And then I'd show them my ex-CIA agent Steele, to, so they can see I have some backbone. And Joe Friendly can vouch, because I've shown him some of the reasons why we should not delete nasty comments, but actually go into it, because people can change. Sometimes, it's so time-consuming to go through and answer all these, because I've got over, I got like 239 videos posted, and I haven't got the web streaming up. So, but I hate to think that something might slip by that I could have helped and put some, some peace onto it. So, alleviate some bad feelings. So I showed Joe, one person. I said, well, sometimes I just get to the end of my limit and I just say, here's my phone number, give me a call, we'll talk about it. So this fellow said that he wished he could, and he felt badly about how he was responding, and he didn't realize that I knew a lot more than I appeared to know, and he wished he could call me, but he was in the Arctic Circle, and it was very expensive to make a phone call from the Arctic Circle. But isn't that kind of touching? So anyhow, now I want to go on and see if, here, I'll bring you over here, see if I can go into, we were starting that was what happened to the streaming last week. And let me cue that up a little farther, because, okay, here. TV. But apparently, this is what I feel in my imagination, in my belief system. The firewire went into here, and then a little 3-to-1 plug. A little 1 plug goes out into 3 RCAs, red, white. Okay, what I'm doing here is explaining why I had the meltdown with my web streaming, and I'm holding a little camera there that I want you to know about. Yellow, and the red and the white is the audio, and the yellow is the video. So it seemed, I use this camera as the final switcher. As cheap as it is, it allows me to do certain things that some of the fancier cameras don't. But I think I really pushed the envelope last week because Victor Taplin was good enough to come and help me, figure out how to get in and out of websites and to follow up on what Jacob said, who used to be the technical head guy here at M&N. He gave some pointers, and I might even create a show with him at the blackboard explaining how it's done, because the whole excitement of the new media is that each person that you're broadcasting to can become a broadcasting station in their own right. And it's this autodidactic quality that Harold Channer talks about that's so exciting. And I can see this is happening already in my YouTube account, because as I spend time making comments on the comments or answering comments that are posted on any of the 230 videos I have up, I start, okay, enough of me and back to me. So what I was trying to do there was just explain some of the difficulties that we have working with very little, but also some of the excitement that we have precisely because we are working with very little. We don't have a lot of we don't have any bosses in our way telling us what we can say and what we can't say. And yet it's very important for us to get feedback so we can have a connection. Otherwise it's just a bunch of blah, blah, blah one direction, and we don't hear what's going on in the other direction. So what I wanted to show you now was go more into YouTube. On that show that I was rolling in, where I started off talking about the little camera that I had and how it is not talking to the broadcast, and that's why some of the shows are technically so poor, or you can't hear it very well, and yet such juicy content that I want to keep persisting. I also pulled up on YouTube a video that I saw about yoga and the evils of yoga, and I want to go more into this with something else that I found. And I had the what do they call it, the chroma key. I think the chroma key looks a little tacky. I've never liked it that much, but maybe it's just that I haven't really mastered it yet. So what I'm going to do is talk you through this, because this is crop circles and occult and Masonic symbols. Now, this has to do with yantras, and I'll explain after it's over why I think it's important that we understand. Tantra means yantra, and mantra equals tantra, or a way that you can create the reality that you want. But in this case, the person that posted this is very afraid of what he feels are satanic symbols. And this is an example of the type of ignorance of the Divine Mother, insofar as the Divine Mother is about physicality and about manifestation, about the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. You wouldn't be afraid of something that you really solidly understood. And if you really solidly understand it, you have the greatest power of all. And that's what I want to accomplish with everything about my life. And that's why I'm attracted to people who also want to do the same thing. And regarding Howard Stern, there have been different opinions. And again, just like me and Joe Friendly aren't in agreement about global warming, I can assure you I have friends who are not in agreement about Howard Stern and what his contribution is. But again, I pay attention to people whose works I respect, to people who are manifesting, and Matt Lepasic was one such person who caught Giuliani lying on camera. Giuliani told Peter Jennings that the reason he was not at his command post in building number 7 on 9/11 is because he had foreknowledge that the towers were going to come down. Now let's go over this very slowly. He was not there. He had to have a reason that he was not there, because a huge amount of money had been put into this emergency command post. People had told him to put it somewhere else. Don't have it there, you know, have it some safer place. Not where all the action is. When all the action happens and you say, well, you know, of course the guy shouldn't have been there, but it was planned that way. So why the hell wasn't he there? He told Peter Jennings he wasn't there because he had foreknowledge that buildings number 1 and 2 were going to come down. Now, the way a lot of the COINTEL operations are saying, well, you know, of course, you know, he was told, and the other people, you know, died and perished because the cell phones were jammed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not so. There were bullhorns stationed outside of those buildings saying, go back to work, everything is safe. So when the bullhorns were telling people to go back to work and everything was safe, Rudy Giuliani was told it was not safe for him to be in Building 7 because it was going to come down. So, Matt Lepasic and Sabrina Rivera got Giuliani at the end of May on camera saying that he didn't know. So, you know, he's lying. One way or another, he's lying. He's either lying to Peter Jennings or he's lying to Sabrina and Matt. Now, if he's lying to Peter Jennings, he still has to account for the fact that he was not at his command post in Building 7. So I want that to be super crystal clear. And this gives you an idea of the huge admiration that I have for Matt Lepasic, who was so articulate on the video that I saw. I still have more angles that I could gather, but being that I'm a little operation doing everything myself, and we're trying to clarify whether I can ask for donations for my 501c3 or not. But if I get them, Matt, also being a computer genius, is figuring out a way to make a charity totally transparent so that every single penny that you donate, you can know exactly what it's going to. So in this case, what I'm suggesting is that with some donation money, some assistance, we can get together a really beautiful I guess you'd say documentary, where we put all this footage together and we show exactly what these people, particularly the We Are Change young people, are doing in gathering the politicians saying things that in a democracy, in a functioning democracy, we need to hear. So, lest I be accused of having a mind that wanders, I want to say that Matt Lepasic, who spoke so eloquently behind camera, you couldn't see him. I actually thought he was a professional anchorman. He spoke that well. He likes Howard Stern, so there you go. The humor that I get when their comments come in, you know, it loosens you up, and you can kind of go to a level of deeper connection if you can resist the temptation to delete the nasty comments. So if you go into my youtube.com/PaulaGloria, you will see that I do not delete nasty comments. And I would also tell you, to help you navigate around YouTube, if you see a nasty comment, click on the name of the person who made it, and you can learn about that person to see whether this is something that you should pay attention to or not. You can sort of gather information from their site. So let's carry on with this this stuff with the Masonic symbols. Here, I'll talk through this. There's a lot of fear involved with these powerful symbols, and it's recognized that corporations use logos to influence us in certain ways. But you know, it doesn't mean this has to be a bad thing. We just have to incorporate it, understand it in such a way that we get our needs met also. So it's not that we're just you know, we become these sort of mindless consumers. Oh, here, let me go over here. We want to master this. It's not like we want to stop consuming. I think this is a big misunderstanding that consumerism is a bad thing. It's just what you consume and the circumstances under which you consume it. Now look at here, we have the crop circles. I love crop circles. They're so beautiful. And I don't think that these are made by some guy dragging around a board, but Nico Haupt, God bless him for all his intelligence, researching 9/11, he thinks they're done by occult Illuminati people with the board. These are really beautiful. So when you have manifestations of nature that are not appreciated, I think you start to come into a very sad, paranoid place of mind, and I think it's very important to pay attention to your frame of mind, not get into paranoia. So let's see. This is going on about how these symbols are in the the King James edition of the Bible, and how bad that is. These are just shapes. And yes, I agree, they do have power, but let's not, out of our fear and misunderstanding, not take advantage of that power. So, let me see here. Oh yeah, here we have the satanic goat. Let's take a look at what they're saying is the satanic goats. There's a I don't know if that was a crop circle or not. There's the crop circle. They're saying that's it here. The pretty music. Oh, spooky music. But now do not be spooked. Oh, now here you go. This is the Eye of Horus. I think I'll stop. Oh, I've already missed that. Damn. Let's see if I can get back. These things are kind of edgy. There. Okay. Stop. Okay, good. That's the Eye of Horus. Now, why does this have to be a bad thing? You know, any of you who have been to the Cairo Museum and have seen some of these beautiful works of art with the ancient Egyptians, I mean, it's just so inspiring. And when you're inspired and you absorb beauty, you go out, you accomplish more. And I want this beauty to be enjoyed by everybody. But you have to exert yourself to cultivate the taste. This doesn't mean learning how to rip off people with your portfolios and you've got your trust fund managers. This is, I think, why the term nouveau riche came about, that you look down on those who are just new into money because they don't have a sense of the traditions and the richness of the history. And that's also why I think it's important that we that the New Age understand why you should honor tradition. Tradition has to be honored too. So let me see if I can make this view smaller, because I want to show you now something that I posted on YouTube, why masters use yantras. And that will be, let me see if I can do this better this way. Okay, I'll switch you over to that. What I want to do is go into my account here and see a video that I just posted. And this is why do masters use yantras? And this is something, here, listen to this.
शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्याये सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये.
Oh darn, there's not enough time. Anyhow, what I wanted to show you was the importance of yantras and the importance of using yantras because they're more powerful than mantras, so that we can create new realities. And new realities means that we have our soul purpose expressed and manifested in density, and that's something that all of us are needed for, to create the world that's vibrant, prosperous, and happy. We need every single one of us. So thank you. My name is Paula Gloria. This has been Farther Down the Rabbit Hole.